There are scary times indeed for the equities markets. The cryptos, not so much. While we have had a bit of a sharp pullback, I can't say it's the scariest thing right now. This is, of course, an update on the sentiment across the crypto space. And we're going to focus mainly on the big coins, Bitcoin, Ethereum, although a lot of the altcoins will provide us some hints that we may not otherwise glean from the two big OG cryptos. So this is the 1 hour chart in Bitcoin. And when we zoom up, like the equity space, the stock market today, we had a sharp pullback, but we didn't really break any supports. There's really nothing characteristic about how this thing fell. Could be 5 down. It could be corrective. Not sure. When we look at Ethereum, it is the same story. Even if I reduce the interval down to 15 minutes, there isn't really any characteristic shape. We may be in a fourth wave with a little bit lower to go, but even if this does end up being an impulse down with 5 waves, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bearish sign. It could just be the continuation of the correction that began back here. We could interpret that this is some kind of an A and a B and a C, or a variety of other interpretations as well. It's just a really ugly pattern with no real clarity. So as far as I can tell, we are presumably still in our fourth wave pullback that we have been in for what seems like an eternity. But that is the nature of fourth waves. They take a long time to grind away, and it's not always clear when you're out of them. When we look at Bitcoin Cash, it looks like we actually may already be done. This could be an A wave up with a B wave in progress with a C wave to come. So there's a lot left to prove before we can go with that perspective. Ethereum Classic did an update on this pretty recently. There is a chance we have our bearish setup. And well, this does give it some credibility, but I would like to see more of a second wave pullback, which would really stretch that rubber band, get that spring set up to really propel us down if we do see more continued downside. Litecoin, another sharp pullback there. I'm going to go to Dash, which is seemingly one of the few coins that has anything good happening right now. We have a nice 3% bounce today. And again, very uncharacteristic. Nothing stands out besides the fact that it seems to be a resistance right at about $99.25, right in that range. And can't seem to break down below it, which could be a good thing. It's holding water pretty well. Polka dot, looking similar. We have a big day in LinkedIn in a Chainlink. And again, nothing particularly significant. Again, we haven't broken any supports. We are kind of in no man's land, and we've been chopping along sideways. We'll look at Stellar Lumens, another one I did recently. Same thing here. We could have an A with a B in progress. Maybe we have a little higher to go to complete this second wave. And this is EOS. We've had more of a bounce here than any others, and this would probably be the scariest because we do have what could be counted as an A, B, and a C wave up. Going to zoom up a little bit. So yeah, that could be your second wave bounce, but we're not seeing this setup anywhere else. So I'm not totally shaking my boots just yet. And well, once we break down to about $1.85, $1.86, that would probably be a good confirmation that we are going down lower. So it'll be up to you and your own trading and investing strategy, whether you want to get out, unload some coins or not. But overall, nothing particularly definitive. We're still perfectly in between multiple patterns in the overall. So big picture, this is Bitcoin daily chart, logarithmic, and our channel still is there. This does have that diagonal look to it. Could be a 1, 2, 3, 4, and we've been looking for higher high, maybe a little higher than that, 50,000s range, to give us at least a sign that we're done with this crash. The MACD divergence still is there. It is still holding. So that is a good sign. Ethereum's diagonal looks even more clear because it looks like an A, B, ABC for the third wave. And we are currently in a fourth wave pullback. I would like to note that the fact that this looks like an ABC correction up is a very good thing because, well, if this really is an A, B, C up, we'd expect to see a 5-wave pattern here, which would look more like this. So we'd expect to see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that. That would be a much clearer sign that that is a C wave, but because it too looks like a zigzag up, that tells me it's probably a third wave within the diagonal. Again, we're probably in a fourth wave down with a fifth wave to come. So that is an encouraging sign, not that encouraging, but better than nothing for Ethereum. So I'm going to go back to some of these altcoins that have had big bounces lately. And you can see there seems to be a bit of a barrier. I think we call that descending triangle sometimes in traditional technical analysis, TA. Here, again, just an ugly corrective looking wave up, possibly a partial diagonal completed. Ethereum Classic, same kind of thing, although Ethereum Classic did have a much nicer bounce. So this does have a bit more credibility that it's actually the entire A wave. And we're in the middle of a B wave now with a much more powerful C wave to come. And really, I've been saying Dash leads the way, but Ethereum Classic has actually started to run ahead of a lot of the coins over the past month or two. Speaking of Dash, decent setup for possibly a continued rally. So again, when I take the Fibonacci extension, what we see here, that green box is within target range. If this really is an A wave with a B wave correction in progress, you'd expect to get to at least 179, but C waves, especially in diagonal rally structures, are often quite extended. So 223 plus is a reasonable target. And as I've been mentioning, we need to see some action relatively soon. We don't want this to drag out too much longer because we're already kind of, well, we're burning both ends of the candle at the moment. And looking at this close up, could count as 5 down. I don't think it's the prettiest 5 down. I think better count as an A, B, probably a C wave that's done already. Again, you see MACD divergence, especially with this peak, this trough versus this trough. So another good sign. Back to the big picture, a couple other prominent coins. Let me see here. I was going to look back at EOS because EOS has had some really vigorous rallies and pullbacks over the past several days. And this actually looks a bit more bullish than a lot of these other coins. You could count this as a 1, 2, 3, 4 with a 5th wave in progress. So EOS might be leading the charge as far as we can tell. And Polygon, which is Matic network, not as constructive. I'm actually going to shift over to SHIB because, again, SHIB does its own thing generally. Just a lot of sideways consolidation. And finally, Solana, I've not been watching as closely and carefully because it too has its own pattern. Looks a lot more bullish than a lot of these other cryptos. You could count that as a clean 3 up, not too deep of a 4th, definitely a diagonal setup. All that is just dandy. So compared to the equity space, this is the Dow Jones Industrial Average, DJI. And as I've been mentioning, we don't typically rely on correlations in Elliott wave theory, but it is hard not to pay attention to the fact that we've had a lot of coincidental inflection points between the stock market and cryptos. A lot of the peaks have coincided, as have a lot of the troughs. And when we look at this, we have that same diagonal look, 1, 2, 3, 4, very deep 4th wave. And well, when you put the trend channel lines together, that tells us that we're probably about to turn back around. You can see that MACD turning back up. So we would expect to see a pretty nice, powerful 5th wave up. However, if we keep sinking, that could mean we have a much deeper low coming. The same applies to the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, the Russell 2000. It's the same ambiguous pattern that we're seeing across the cryptos. The other alternative, if I zoom out a bit, let me put this on the 1 hour. That might be a little too much. Let's do a 30-minute, 15-minute. Sticking with that. Here we go. So if we look at the 15-minute chart, again, we have a clear, bigger picture, 1, 2, 3, 4 in place. There is a chance that this entire rally could complete in diagonal fashion. So if that happens, I'm going to zoom out. This actually could be the top of a first wave of a diagonal. I know a couple of my viewers have pointed this potential out, and I think that is a fair second alternative or third alternative, however you want to count it. So what I'm getting at is that from this origin point, this peak could be the first wave. We may be in the middle of a second wave, and then we may have a third wave to come. And again, the reason why this is acceptable is that, well, this is a clear 3-wave pattern, and within a larger 5-wave diagonal pattern, each of your subwaves will take corrective form. They'll all look like zigzags. So if that is the case, that could mean that we have a lot more downside ahead for the Dow. And, we could get a bit lower. I'm not going to put any standard retrace numbers on it, but I would expect us to get somewhere near this blue box again, 34,000, whatever. So translating that over to cryptos, I'm going to shift back over to Bitcoin again. Where did it go? Here we go. So if we zoom out a little bit, if this is actually a first wave, bigger picture, 2-hour view, that would mean that this whole thing is a first wave. We are in a deep second wave, as you'd expect in a diagonal kind of rally, with a 3rd, 4th, and 5th to come. I'm going to shift that over to the bigger picture in Bitcoin. So that is what I'm getting at. It could already be first wave up, second wave down. Ethereum does count a little bit cleaner. So again, same pattern. Could be a 1 up, 2 down. And just look at this. Again, you have a zigzag here. It's a little weird. I like the interpretation that this is actually a third wave more. So a lot of complexity here. It's not very clear what exactly is happening. We're going to have to hold out to see. But the parameters haven't changed for my individual crypto updates, if we break the lows that we hit on either Jan 24th or February 24th for most other coins, Jan 24th will be for specifically Bitcoin and Ethereum, and there's a couple other altcoins that also had their lowest low then. If we break that low either there or on February 24th, there's a chance we are going to reach down into those boxes below. So I'm going to have some warnings out there. I will be out of town the next several days, so maybe a little delayed putting out updates. But again, trade buyer plan. If you do plan to hold long term, you may be better served just holding or hodling through any kind of crash. And because, again, we are oversold, I can't imagine us having too much downside left. If we do fall here, I would see that as a tremendous buying opportunity more than anything else. So there you have it. I will have plenty more updates. Might have some more coming out tomorrow. Subscribe so that you don't miss them. And if you enjoy my video, don't forget to give me a like. Till next time, thank you for watching and happy trading.